For context, I am Filipino and male, 21 years old, from the motherland. Here we have jeepneys that we use for our daily commute. At this specific event, I am seated in front, to the right of the driver. The front fits 3 people, including the driver, while the back fits 16, 8 on each side. 15 minutes into the trip, a large girl, approximately in her 30s, gestured to the driver to stop, indicating that she would board the jeepney. Now, I am not a big dude. I weigh 70 kilograms at most, and I am 5'10". When she sat next to me, my right buttock is barely sitting on the hard seat, while my left buttock is dangling on nothing. To add insult to injury, my balls are resting on the seatbelt buckle. She then had the audacity to tell me to move further so she can sit in a commanding way. That, paired with the non-stop secondhand smoke coming from the driver's cigarette and the 9-hour internship I just finished, made me reply to her with, "I have nowhere else to move, sit. We don't fit here." She then began crying and calling me fat-phobic. As for my tone, try to imagine if you were tired, in pain, uncomfortable, hot, and kept coughing, then an entitled woman commands you to move. I am definitely mad. Am I the jerk? To add some details I missed. 1. The jeepney I am in and others as well were very full. It's rush hour. It just so happened that the guy who sat next to me got off a few meters before the woman gestured for the Jeep to stop. So there is 1 free seat in the Jeep the moment the woman was about to board. 2. From left to right, the front consists of the driver, the stick shift, me, then the woman. I am in the middle. Plus, unlike in cars, there is no cup holder or anything I could rest my left buttock on. It's just a straight drop to the floor from the edge of the seat. 3. I saw a comment here about clapping. I do not really understand, but if it meant that I was applauded by the other passengers, then no, it's 6 p.m. Everyone's too tired to care. Plus, I do not think they heard what we said. 4. Yes, the driver could have prevented her from boarding, but it's their livelihood. The more passengers, the more income they have. 5. I endured about 20 minutes in that position. I held onto a handle in the front dashboard and the driver's seat to help balance myself. I only have a sling bag, so my stuff is secure. Then she got off. Another 40 minutes later, I got off. 6. Yes, I could have just gotten off. But either I waste 40 minutes of my time waiting for another jeepney, not to mention the time it would take to travel from where I am currently at to my house, 40 minutes, plus the fare I would have to pay again, or I just suck it up. 7. She didn't really curse me out. Instead, she said something like, "How dare you body shame me?" in a crying tone, and proceeded to sniff and wipe her eyes with her handkerchief. Then it was silence for us. 8. For the commanding way, I meant she told me to move in a grouchy, grumpy, Karen-y, so tired that I don't give a fuck tone. Plus, I forgot her exact words, but what she said was something along the lines of, "Move aside. Move aside. Move 9. She was not exactly morbidly obese, but she could occupy the entire front passenger seat, which fits 2. 10. This occurred in the southernmost city, Muntinlupa, of the province where Manila is located, if some are wondering. 11. I do not really mind the uncomfortable ride home. I just want to go home as soon as possible, eat, shower, and sleep. Being accused of fat shaming and making someone cry is what prompted me to ask here. And I admit, I should have chosen my words and tone more carefully. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not applicable. Comment 2. Okay, I am not at all familiar with your country, but here in the US, if some random stranger thought they were going to squish themselves into a seat that is so crowded they are touching me, I would definitely hurt their feelings. We just came through the pandemic, and it's summer, so a sweaty stranger with their germs would probably do me in. Face vomiting. Not the jerk. Now, for the update, I'm just here to get it over with. About 3 weeks after the whole jeepney incident, my mom calls me up, all excited about a family gathering at my aunt's house. Apparently, it was to celebrate my cousin's graduation, and of course, the entire family was invited. Like I had a choice. I didn't really want to go, especially with how things went last time, but I reluctantly agreed. I mean, what else was I going to do, right? Just sit at home and think about the last time I made some woman cry on a jeepney? Fun times. Fast forward to the day of the gathering. I rolled up to my aunt's house with my younger brother in tow, who was way too excited to see everyone. You'd think he was going to Disneyland or something. When we got there, the place was decked out with balloons and a big old banner that read, "Congratulations." It was kind of nice. My aunt had prepared a massive feast too, with all these traditional Filipino dishes that could make anyone forget about their problems, even if just for a little while. So as everyone was mingling and stuffing their faces, I noticed her, the woman from the jeepney. She was just chilling on the couch, chatting it up with my cousin and some of their friends. At that moment, I felt a twinge of unease, but I thought, no idiots here, not today. I'm just here for the food and to make my mom happy. Anyway, my cousin gave this graduation speech that was all about the importance of family support, and everyone was clapping and cheering. My uncle even made a toast, saying how proud they all were of our graduate. The atmosphere was cheerful, and I was just about to dig into some lumpia when the woman stood up and addressed the group. She started talking about the incident from the jeepney, saying I bullied her. The room went silent, and I could feel everyone looking at me. My younger brother leaned in and whispered, "Is that her?" I was just embarrassed and wanted to disappear. So the woman goes on to recount the story, and of course, she's exaggerating parts, making me look like some kind of monster. I could hear family members murmuring, and I felt so cornered. I tried to defend myself, but I was stumbling over my words, feeling all this pressure from the audience. Now my aunt, who usually has my back, decided to side with the woman. She said it was wrong to make someone feel bad about their body. My older brother was just standing there, silent, exchanging awkward glances with his wife. It was like a scene from a reality show, and I was the idiot in the middle of it. The woman started crying, and some family members rushed to comfort her while completely ignoring me. I decided I needed to step outside for a bit, just to get some air and clear my head. So I'm out there, trying to breathe, when I overheard my younger sister talking to a cousin, saying she couldn't believe I treated someone like that. When I went back inside, I was trying to regain my composure. It was tough, since my eyes were probably puffy from the crying outside. I found my family gathered around the woman, showing her support while basically avoiding me. I felt so isolated, like I was watching everyone else have a good time while I was stuck in the corner. I grabbed a plate of food, but even that couldn't shake the feeling of being an outcast. No one was really talking to me, and the vibe was just off. As the night wore on, people started leaving the party, and honestly, I was relieved that it was coming to an end. Just before leaving, the woman approached me and said I should apologize to her at the next family event. I just nodded, not wanting to deal with her again. But then I overheard my uncle talking about how they might not include me in future family gatherings if I kept this up. Like, seriously? I was the bad guy here, and I was the one getting the boot? Feeling cornered again, I decided to bail on saying goodbye to everyone, including my mom. On my way home, I realized I hadn't enjoyed the evening at all. Not even the food had a chance. A few days later, my mom called to say that some family members were considering not inviting me to their future events. It just kept getting better. Then, as if that wasn't enough, I found out my cousin had unfollowed me on social media. That was the cherry on top of this awful Sunday of a family gathering. I'm just so lost and tired of all this drama. Like, I get that I messed up, but was I really that bad? Why is everyone acting like I'm the worst person ever? I just want to go to family events without feeling like I'm under a microscope. I know I need to apologize, but I'm not even sure if it would help. My mom's been trying to understand, but I know she's also super disappointed. I'm not doing well, so any advice would be much appreciated. To answer a few questions, I didn't recognize her at first, but my cousin pointed her out, which made me feel awkward. My mom was upset, but tried to be supportive. The event was at my aunt's house, and most family members chose to ignore me after the incident. My older brother's reaction was disappointing as well. Am I the idiot for giving my eloping sister a smaller wedding gift than my other sister? Am I the idiot for giving my sister a 100 gift card for her elopement and not a wedding gift, like I did for my other sister? My parents had me when they were really young, are still together now, and had 2 more kids, my sisters Katie and Jess, later on. I'm 15 and 17 years older than them, respectively. Because of the age gap, we didn't really grow up together, and sometimes I feel more like an uncle than a big brother to them. I've been fortunate in my career to do relatively well, and I've typically been pretty generous with them when it comes to things like birthdays, Christmas, and graduations. My sister Katie got married 2 summers ago and had your typical traditional wedding. I would guess around 125 people were there. It was very nice and definitely not cheap. I don't know how much they spent, but I know my parents and her husband's family were only able to contribute for about half the cost. The rest was my sister and her husband paying for it. They were super cool and let me and my wife bring our 2 kids, even though I later found out the venue charged the same for kids as adults for the food and everything. It meant a lot, and I didn't want their inclusion to be a burden, so my wife and I gifted them $500 as a wedding present to cover our plates, plus a little extra. My sister Jess has always been more low-key. When she got engaged, she told us all she would likely elope, and nobody tried to convince her otherwise because it made sense for them. They aren't flashy and have always seemed pretty frugal, definitely not the type to throw a big wedding costing tens of thousands. They announced a couple of weeks ago that they eloped in the mountains with just them and the necessary witness. I was happy for them and didn't feel like I missed out on anything. I've been to enough weddings that I don't have fear of missing out. I'm just happy they had what felt right for them. Since they didn't have a wedding, I didn't think to get them a wedding present because, no wedding. But they did just go under contract on their first home together. So my wife and I got them a $100 gift card to Home Depot. I remember when I first bought my first home, there were a lot of home improvement stuff, and I made about 100 trips there, so I thought it would be a nice gift. Apparently, she asked Katie what they got for their wedding, and she told them, and now felt a certain way about our gift to them. She made a comment about feeling like their marriage wasn't respected enough because they didn't throw a big party and said it felt like I was showing favoritism. I told her I gave Katie more because she hosted my whole family, and I know how expensive that is, having paid for my own wedding. Jess kinda rolled her eyes and walked away after that interaction, and we haven't talked about it since. That was this past Sunday. I thought it would be understood that the situations were just different, and it's unreasonable to expect the same generosity when you don't give any generosity, aka hosting and feeding people, by not having a traditional wedding and not inviting us to celebrate with them. Maybe I am wrong though, so I wanted some neutral opinions. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You got a wedding gift for the older sister, partly to cover the cost of 4 plates at their wedding. For my wedding last year, which wasn't flashy, dinner was more than $100 a plate. Your $500 gift wouldn't have covered the cost of your dinner, I think. At the end of the day, you likely helped fund their wedding, and nothing more. The other sister didn't even have a wedding, so her gift is all gift. She's a major AH for comparing the two situations. Honestly, I wouldn't have even given a gift to someone who didn't have a party. That you did, and she's now saying it wasn't enough, makes her the AH of the story. Comment 2. No idiots here. Nobody is ever entitled to a gift or a gift worth a specific amount of money, but I can totally understand how giving your sibling a cash gift in an amount that's drastically lower than what you gave the other sibling for the exact same occasion would be looked upon as kind of a middle finger. So I can't say she's the jerk for being offended. I don't understand or agree with your way of thinking about wedding gifts as repayment for inviting you to the reception at all, but you were within your rights to make the decision you made, so I can't say you're the jerk either. Now, for the update. A month after the whole mess with Jess, I got an invite to her housewarming party. The invite was pretty casual, just a note that it was going to be a small get-together with close family. My wife and I thought it might be a good idea to go, like a peace offering or something, to help smooth things over. So we decided to attend. Spoiler alert, it didn't go as smoothly as I hoped. When we showed up, the vibe was super awkward. Like, you could feel the tension, but not the kind you'd use to cut steak, the kind you'd use to stab someone. Jess was avoiding eye contact like she was playing some sort of game. Her partner was there, and he was friendly enough, making small talk, but it wasn't the same as before. Then Katie and her husband showed up, and they were all smiles and hugs, totally unaware of the awkwardness. I almost wished I could be as blissfully ignorant as they were. So, the night went on, and Jess started talking about how she had hired a contractor for some home renovations. I congratulated her and mentioned that I could give her some tips based on my experience. She just dismissed me, saying she wanted to do it her way. All right, no problem. You do you, Jess. But I could tell she was still a bit on edge. Later on, the topic of wedding planning came up, and Katie jokingly mentioned wanting a second wedding just for fun. Jess shot her this sharp look, and I caught it right away. I figured maybe a little humor would lighten the mood, so I tried to share a funny story from Katie's wedding, but Jess interrupted me. She said the story was irrelevant since she had eloped. After a while, we all moved outside for a barbecue. There's nothing like a burger to ease the tension, right? Well, Jess accidentally spilled a drink on my shirt while laughing, and instead of apologizing, she made a snide remark about my expensive clothes. I mean, yeah, I like nice things, but come on. My wife then jumped in, saying that everyone's welcome to dress as they please, but Jess just huffed and walked away. The mood shifted again when Katie started talking about some family vacation plans. Jess suddenly piped up, saying she was planning a trip too, but wouldn't invite anyone. My wife raised an eyebrow at the defensiveness. It was clear something was still off with Jess, but we were all just trying to enjoy the evening. As the night wore on, Jess pulled me aside. She accused me of being part of a family that only cared about appearances. I was taken aback, but figured it wasn't the time or place for a debate, so I just stayed quiet and let her vent. She then mentioned that she was feeling overwhelmed with her new life and managing the house. I suggested we could have a family dinner to reconnect, and she agreed, but insisted on choosing the restaurant. She wanted to make the decision since it was her house. Fair enough, Jess, fair enough. A week later, she sent me a text with the dinner details. It was at this trendy downtown place. My wife and I got there first, and we were seated when Jess and her partner arrived. She seemed a bit nervous, but I didn't think too much about it. Then, during dinner, she dropped the news. She was expecting a baby. Katie clapped her hands excitedly, totally overlooking the earlier tension. Jess seemed relieved, but also anxious about how we'd all react. After we finished dinner, Jess pulled me aside again. She asked if I would be her partner for the baby shower planning. I was caught off guard but nodded in agreement. Honestly, I figured it was a way to get her to warm up to me again, and if planning a baby shower was all it took, I was in. After the dinner, I got a message from Jess about the planning meetings, so I thought it was just me and Jess, but no, she had secretly invited Katie to join the planning team. I was kind of bummed that she didn't tell me, but I played nice. We all met a few times to plan the shower, and it was fun. I could see Jess starting to relax around me, and I was hopeful we'd get back to where we used to be. Even though the road was rocky, it felt like we were on the right path. Edit. A few weeks after the dinner, Jess called me to discuss the baby shower. She mentioned that she and her partner had decided to do a gender reveal during the shower. I thought it was a great idea. She then asked if I could help with some of the planning. I happily agreed. Am I the idiot for asking for reimbursement after being treated like a servant at my friend's lavish wedding? Am I the idiot for asking to be reimbursed after cooking for a wedding and being accused of trying to steal their money? I am a 28-year-old female living in Delaware with a well-paid job, currently supporting both myself and my boyfriend, who lost his job. Recently, I was invited to a 2-day Spanish-Italian wedding as the bride's witness. The 2-day event was held 3 hours away from the city and included a wedding ceremony, lunch, party, and the next day a barbecue to celebrate the relative's birthday. We were told not to bring any gifts as the couple has planned a second wedding in Italy for 80-plus people and rented out a mansion. The groom's family is very rich. As a witness and best friend, I always went above and beyond by helping her in everyday life. For the wedding, I rented a car for €250. I was picking up guests and helping a lot with logistics, bringing people from and to the airport. However, things took a weird turn when I arrived at the barbecue and was told that there is not enough food for us and we have to go shopping. Fine, it happens. We made a list of groceries for ourselves. While we shopped, I got calls from the hosts to buy more food. My boyfriend was even asked to get fresh bread. At the barbecue, I was asked to help with cooking, which I ended up doing for 1 hour. The food which we bought was distributed around all tables, meaning that we kind of sponsored the barbecue which we were invited to. The stupidest moment was that when my boyfriend asked for bread, he wasn't allowed to take the fresh bread he bought. Fiancé's relative was not doing much. He was suffering from a hangover from the previous night. Others were hanging around and enjoying the setup. I had a nasty feeling, though I was happy that I could help. Afterwards, the couple went on a honeymoon and asked me to take care of their plants for 1 month, which is totally fine with me. I prepared them a nice bottle of champagne to celebrate their return from the honeymoon. As I spent a lot of money on food, I wanted to get some reimbursement. It's not like I bought food for only my boyfriend, my friend, and me, but for all others who could have gone shopping as well. I added the expenses to splitwise and assigned 2/5 to the bride. Despite my efforts and expenses, I was harshly criticized for being a terrible friend, for not bringing a present, not washing dishes, or contributing enough financially. I was told that I should be thankful that their friends allowed us to stay overnight. We got them a bottle of expensive wine as a thank you. Then, her fiancé accused me of trying to get their money and suggested I check my finances. The groom even implied that I didn't do enough for the wedding. However, I had already followed their words not to bring a gift and had been supportive in various ways. I was at work, and all of this destroyed me emotionally. In conclusion, I felt unappreciated and hurt by the accusations and misunderstandings from my friend and the couple. I had genuinely tried to help and contribute, but it seemed like my efforts were not recognized or valued. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You realized what kind of friends they are when they showed you their true colors, though. Be thankful for that. If they insist on not paying you back, tell them to consider it your wedding present, then drop the acquaintance entirely. Comment 2. They aren't your friends. They treat you as a servant. I would let their plants die and drink the champagne myself. Get some self-respect and new friends, not the idiot. Now, for the update, I'm back with another update, and trust me, this one has got the drama. So, like a week after the wedding, I get this text from the bride asking if I took care of her plants. Like, did she really think I was gonna let her plants die? Anyway, I said yeah, I did, and even bought a bottle of champagne for her and her new husband when they got back. She thanked me but seemed distracted, which was kinda weird. I figured she'd been busy with the wedding and honeymoon stuff, so no biggie. Then, I noticed that she had posted all these pics from their honeymoon in Italy. OMG, the food looked amazing, and the scenery was just awesome. I don't know how she could be stressed when she was eating so well, but whatever. A few days later, I run into the groom at the grocery store. He's acting all weird, avoiding eye contact, and just giving me short answers. I'm like, okay, what's your deal? I casually mention the barbecue and hope they enjoyed the food. He chuckles, but quickly changes the subject to his work. The dude looked busy, but I don't know how busy you can be when you're just back from your honeymoon. Later that week, I get this group message from both the bride and groom inviting everyone to dinner at their place. At first, I was like, no idiots here, I'm good. But then I thought, whatever, I should just go. At the dinner, things were super awkward. The groom barely spoke to me, and the bride was almost trying too hard to be cheerful. She insisted on making a toast, which was sweet, but then she praised everyone except me. I felt so sidelined, like, did I even exist in her world? She mentioned all these other guests' contributions, and I was just sitting there like, okay, cool, whatever. After dinner, people started leaving, and I stayed back to help clean up. While washing dishes, the bride pulled me aside and asked if I had seen the comments on her honeymoon post. I hadn't, so she showed me all these comments criticizing their spending. She seemed really upset and said it was affecting her. At that moment, I offered her my support, but I felt like she was just deflecting from our earlier issue. Then the groom came in and asked what we were talking about. She quickly changed the subject and he shot me this look, like, "What are you telling my wife?" The vibe was off, and I decided to leave soon after. A few days later, the bride called me and asked to meet up. We met at this local coffee shop, and she said she wanted to clear the air. She started talking about the criticism she got online and how it was affecting her relationship with the groom. I listened as she went on and on about how other people's perceptions were bothering her. Honestly, I felt bad for her, but I also felt like she was avoiding our issue. Then, she brought up the expenses for the barbecue and asked about the splitwise payment. I told her I just wanted to be reimbursed for the food, and she got all defensive. She said it was a group event and everyone should share costs. I could feel my patience wearing thin, but I tried to keep it together. Then the groom shows up out of nowhere, looking super furious. He confronts me about the splitwise payment, saying it's totally inappropriate. I'm like, "Hold up, buddy. I followed your wishes about not bringing a gift, and I felt used." The bride tried to mediate, but she ended up getting upset, causing this scene in the coffee shop. I didn't want to be part of this drama any longer, so I decided to leave. Edit: I didn't ask anyone else to contribute to the barbecue. I covered the costs myself because I wanted to ensure there was enough food for everyone. The splitwise payment was my way of seeking reimbursement from the bride, not anyone else. I didn't pressure her, it was just a request. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.